Hey guys, it's Taylor. Thanks for tuning in to Fearless Unscripted. And I am really excited about today's episode. Haydon Wiginton, you have a really unique Texas Tech story because I feel like when I look at all the things that you were able to do in your time as a student, you really maximized your time in Lubbock. Would you say that that's true?
100%. I was very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that is like the understatement of the century. You were obviously a student athlete with the Texas Tech football team. I wonder if we might just start there.
Yeah.
Was it playing college football that initially got you to Lubbock in the first place?
100%.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, so senior year of high school, I was under-recruited. I had a couple of FCS, so small school D1 offers. COVID kind of screwed a lot of that up, and then it got to a point to where I had a preferred walk-on offer to Oklahoma State, and I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go play at the highest level. So I went to Oklahoma State. Then in about November of that first season, Coach McGuire got the job at Tech, and I've been friends with McGuire forever. And my dad called me. He's like, "Hey, you thought about transferring?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that."
Because you guys didn't just know each other, right?
We
you
were
said
close.
y'all were neighbors.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we're very, very close family friends. I would consider them my second family for sure. And so he got that job, and I kind of kept it quiet while I was at OSU. But I mean, I knew the second that season ended, after the Fiesta Bowl at OSU, I'm driving to Lubbock. That's what I did. The next day, we got off the plane from Scottsdale, and I went to the dorm, packed it up, and drove to Lubbock.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you never looked back?
No, that was the first time I'd ever been to Lubbock. That's when I moved in.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's kind of surprising to me because you're just from, I feel like Midlothian is just down the street. Never been to Lubbock?
It's about 5 hours down the street. Yeah. But it's pretty wild.
So tell me about, I want you to kind of describe that sort of first conversation that you had with Coach McGuire, whether it was on the phone or when you saw him at the football facility. What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. So, like with the legality of everything with college football, you can't talk to a coach while you're at a school. So essentially I had to enter my name in the transfer portal before I was able to talk to Joey, but I knew exactly where I was going. So I entered my name. Then I called him. I was like, "Coach, my name's in the portal." He's like, "Let's go." And you know
we
how
can
he
all
says it.
hear him saying that right now.
Like 8 O's and 10 exclamation points.
That's so good.
And he's like, "You ready to be a Red Raider?" I was like, "Yes, sir. I'll be there tomorrow."
That's so awesome.
Then from there on.
And your dad, of course, you come from a football family, right? Mm-hmm. Your dad was a coach. He was your coach at Midlothian, but I do think it's unique. You and your dad had sort of spent your time there playing against Coach McGuire. Mm-hmm. And so I think I love that you had the opportunity now to be able to call him your coach.
100%. Yeah.
He just is he is exactly who you think you're getting with him too.
Oh yeah. He always says he's a Pepsi. And Pepsi tastes the same, all day, every day, no matter when you drink it. I mean, that's him to a T.
Yeah, it's so good. What was that like for your dad? Now, obviously when you're in that coaching community, like a good coach of character respects another good coach of character. And so I think, despite whether or not they were coaching against each other, I can imagine that there was a sort of camaraderie there. So what was that like for your dad now to kind of be able to know that you were really getting a good quality experience that you had signed up for?
I mean, it meant the world to him, just because of how good of friends they were. My dad didn't really know Coach Gundy very well, and it was just cool that I was playing college football. But a switch kind of flipped whenever I came and started playing for such a close family friend. And he's like, "All right, yeah, that's where you're supposed to be." Yeah, where else would I be?
Yeah, that's so good. I had mentioned that you're from a football family. Your granddad was a coach. Your dad was a coach. They were able to coach together, right? Your dad was your coach at Midlothian. And I want to mention too, now he's not just a football coach. I mean, he is leading one of the most storied programs in all of Texas high school football, being in Allen. And he's been there how many years? Four
years now, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even know what year it is now, but yeah, about 4.
I mean, that Allen is a prolific program. And I just think that, coaches all across the state dream of having the opportunity to be able to do that. And you said before we started this interview that you're really proud to call him your dad. Tell me a little bit about just the influence that he has had on you over the years as a college student athlete, as a high school player, as a man.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a coach as a dad just gives you an edge in life no matter what you do. I mean, he's always pushed me well past the limits of what I thought I had in me, whether it was football and now music. He knows nothing about music. He couldn't play a single note on the guitar. Like if you held a gun to his head, told him to play a G chord, he ain't doing it. He's terrible. But he's always trying to find something to coach me at. And I think that's what's special about having a coach as a dad is he just really genuinely wants you to be the best version of yourself. And I mean, I think that gives, me and my little sister an edge on everybody else.
Yeah.
Just because of how much he cares about us and, the effort that we give in daily life.
Yeah, I love that. So good. I also think too that I have tons of respect for men who are high school football coaches. And I think too that you're a unique brand of leader to be able to lead young men. But then I think about, your dad was elected to be the president of that Texas High School Coaches Association. And like his peers chose him to do that. And I think that that's really valuable too. And I think that says even more about, a person's ability to lead when other people identify that he has the capacity to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he is such a great leader. And, above that, he's such a, wonderful man. And I mean, just the poster child for a man of God. I mean, he's everything you want in a leader. It doesn't shock me at all that all the other coaches chose him to lead them for that term.
Sometimes when you talk to people, people who have coaches as parents, they either want to follow in that legacy and they're really compelled to do it, or it's not for them and they know that. And I'm curious if you ever grew up thinking that you would be a coach like your granddad and like your dad.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I ever wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a little phase when I was probably 5 that I wanted to be an engineer because I liked Legos, but
nice.
I mean, that was about it. That was probably a 2-month deal. Other than that, football, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
At what point did you realize that was not going to be what your next step was in your future?
Man, it's probably a year and a half ago. I couldn't really tell you an exact moment, but, Coach McGuire is really the one that pushed me to start doing music. I learned guitar the back half of my senior year of high school and while I was at Oklahoma State, just so I could lead worship at FCA. I didn't want to do anything with it. It was just kind of a hobby. And then, McGuire pushed me to do it. He made me play in front of the team. I'll tell this story to everybody. It was that first fall camp. It was a Thursday night at Cook's Garage where they do the radio show. And I'd never played in front of an audience, and I played in front of all 120 of my teammates, and that was terrifying. And I was terrible. I was awful. I mean, I couldn't hold a tune. I knew the cowboy chords on the guitar, a couple Flatland Cavalry and Morgan Wallen songs, and that was about it. But somebody out there, it was David Wild, he heard a couple of my originals, like, hey, man, you should do this. So I started writing songs, and I finally released an EP just cause.
Yeah.
And, people started liking it, and I played a show at Blue Light opening for Grant Gilbert, and
wow,
everybody was, packed out, it was sold out.
Were you nervous then?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a little bit easier just because I'd say half of the audience was associated with football. I mean, I think the entire coaching staff.
That's so cool.
That made it a little bit easier, but just that adrenaline on stage was like, oh, I got to do this. So that's kind of where it switched.
How does the adrenaline 2 minutes before you go on stage compare to the adrenaline of like the last 10 seconds that's left on that clock before kickoff?
Oh, it's way different. I was way more nervous for football. Yeah, I mean, music, it's a little different just because, there's pressure for sure, but it's not physical pressure, You look at me, I'm not huge. I'm kind of a little guy, and I was a walk-on, so I had to really earn my place to get on the field. And when I did, it was on special teams, so I'm blocking these big old dudes that are way bigger and faster than me, and I'm just getting out there and just getting smacked. So I was like, I'm lining up at kickoff, just looking at counting the guy that I'm blocking, like 1, 2, 3. There's that guy.
I drew the short end of the stick
and
here.
this dude's about to go run me over. So that pressure was it was a whole lot higher than this. I feel like I'm to a point now where I know that this is something that I can do, and I get on stage, and it's a little easier, especially having my band behind me.
What I'm hearing you say is that you, in both football and in your music, other people saw something in you and they put you in a position to do it. It's like other people recognize that there was a thing that you had, there was a part of who you were that maybe you didn't even recognize at the time. And that, like, being a walk-on or somebody just watching you play in front of your teammates and kind of giving you, or coach giving you that, like, endorsement of like, hey, you can do this, but more importantly, you should do this. I think that's a really powerful sentiment.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that's so valuable. I genuinely wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for guys like Coach McGuire, Coach Perry, my whole coaching staff. I mean, what kind of college football staff encourages one of their players to go be great at something else outside of football? I mean, that just doesn't happen. It's so important to have people like that in your life.
Yeah. How were you first of all, the time commitment to be a student athlete in general is like really significant. And for people who are watching this who maybe don't understand that, like, I just want to say the time commitment required to play any sport in college is like really, and yes, you guys have a lot of resources, and yes, you have a lot of support and personnel and people who are there to help you succeed, but like you have to really commit yourself to time management. But then I think about the fact that you wrote and released 3 albums, or
I don't even know.
I mean, I don't know. I read that online. So
yeah, it was 1 full-length album and 2 EPs while I was in football.
How were you even able to do that?
I mean, I feel like if you love something and you do really want to be great, you're going to find a way. So, I mean, I really couldn't put an exact game plan that I had on trying to get it done. I just went and did it, Were
you just like writing in your notebook on the bus or on the plane, or like?
I mean, sometimes,
really?
Yeah. I mean, songs, they just kind of come out of thin air sometimes. I was on my way here and I heard a lyric in my head, and I was like, "Oh crap, I got to write that down." So I wrote it down. I mean, every songwriter would tell you it just kind of happens when it happens. You could sit down and lock yourself in a room and try to write a song, but it's not really as organic as, if you're out on a football field and you're in the middle of one-on-ones and you just got locked up and you get back and you're like, oh man, what's that in my head? And then all of a sudden you go write a song when you get home from practice, and that's kind of how it goes.
I feel like for someone, what you just described seems pretty simple, but I think that it is for people who have that gift. And so I wonder, like, when you started to discover that you could do this, what did you want to come with music? Like, were you just kind of seeing where it would go, or did you have ambition to do something like what you're doing now?
Yeah. When I first started releasing music, it was something I wanted to do for sure. I fell in love with music. I've always listened to, Texas country. I mean, Randy Rogers' band their group is superheroes to me. Just listening like In My Arms Instead as a kid, driving to Burn It with my buddy, going to the lake and stuff, and that's what I grew up on. And so I was like, okay, I feel like I can do that. I want to do that. I want to make something like that. I didn't really necessarily do it for an audience. I was kind of wanting to do it for me.
Yeah.
NIL was a thing. Not that I was getting much, because I wasn't. But
sure.
What I did save up, I was putting towards music to try to, create something I was proud of, not really for anybody else. And then when people started liking it, that's when it kind of switched.
Yeah. I love that. When you wrote your albums here, when you were on the Texas Tech football team, who did that for you? How did you find them?
Yeah, so I actually texted Randall King. I was like, hey, man, I just wrote a bunch of songs. I want to record them. Where do I need to do it? And he said amusement park with Scott Ferris. So I went there. I went there and recorded my first one. I did Lampastus there with him. And then...
Which is where your dad's from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. And then did four other songs. So that one was on the EP. And then I did 4 other ones with Alan Crossland over at A-Cuff, which is 15, 20 minutes out of town. And then I did 2 songs. I did 2 singles with Alan Rich. He's got a new studio here in town. And then Jay Saldana has co-produced a lot of that.
Yeah, we grew up together. He's another Lubbock Cooper grad.
He's awesome.
He is
helped
awesome.
me so much. And yeah, he got me connected with Josh Serrato, who he's produced a lot of Co-Wetzel stuff, and he's Co's lead guitarist. He's actually going to be working on a project with me this summer, so I'm excited about that one. We're not doing it in Lubbock this time, but yeah, those guys here in Lubbock, they've really, helped me out so much trying to get that music out there.
You said so many names just now who all, we talked about Destin Six and the Blue Light, but all of those people that you mentioned really have such prominent ties to the music industry. And like, you could not be connected with better people there. It's so cool that those relationships are a gift that Lubbock has given.
Very much. Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder if you might tell us a little bit more about your earliest memories of music. Like, some people have these like very distinct memories of being little, really young, being 5, 6 years old, and like having these defining moments with music. Did you ever see yourself like making it into something, or were you just kind of like, yeah, music's good, I like it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
It's so funny.
I was, like I said, football is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, ever. I guess the earliest memory I have of music, being in the weight room with my dad while I was probably early elementary school at Midlothian High. And in the weight room, they had Just a Dream by Nelly playing. And I was like, oh, this is a good song. I like this. And I went home and added it to my playlist on my iPod Touch. That's kind of the earliest memory I have of it. But I took choir as an elective. My sister was in dance, and she's kind of more of showman or show woman than me. She loves that kind of stuff. It never was my thing. I was always football.
Yeah. So this kind of took you by surprise a little bit.
It did.
That's so good.
Yeah, but it came quick. And then the second I fell in love, it was like getting hit by a brick wall.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you might tell us a little bit about what this passion has kind of required from you. Every good thing that comes in life comes with a little bit of sacrifice. Do you feel like you've had to sacrifice some things in order to be able to follow it? Yeah,
I think so. Especially now, touring, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. I've missed out on 2 of my good friends' weddings this year because I'm playing, whether it's up in Illinois or, down in South Texas. It's a price you got to pay. You sacrifice, it's a lot of people like to say, oh yeah, you're going to get all the girls in the world doing music. Can't really put in time to try to wine and dine a girlfriend while you're chasing the road. Some people are able to do it, but that's a little bit later on whenever you're settled in a little bit. So you kind of have to sacrifice relationships, not sacrifice them, but put it on the back burner. Then, just time. It really is just time.
Yeah.
A lot.
And it is worth it, right? But it's the same. I mean, we're talking about there are so many parallels between your music career and playing football, because we've already talked about the time commitment, right? Of playing football. But I think too that, now you are living the life that a lot of people hope that they get to have, and maybe they don't attain it or they're not able to pursue it. Does part of you feel like there's a shelf life to this, or are you even thinking about that?
I'm not even thinking about it. I mean, yeah, there's momentum that you have to ride, and once that dies out, it's really hard to get back into it. But You know, I kind of built up my momentum while I was playing football, and you know, these past 6 months I've been trying to put together a project so I can kind of elevate my career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, people don't. I know that I'm very blessed, and I'm in a place where there's a lot of people that wish they were in my place. But then, you know, I look up and, you know, there's people like Flatland Calvary, you know, all those other guys that came out of Lubbock, and they're huge. And like, man, I want that. And I think that lack of being satisfied is that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. And you mentioned Flatland. I mean, I'm looking right behind you is this, you know, neon sign that they presented to Dustin Six, who owns the Blue Light Live. And we were able to, you know, feature and capture that moment in the documentary that our team produced. But, you know, Flatland Cavalry has their fingerprints on this place. And so do people like Wade Bowen and William Clark Green and Josh Abbott and these other like really prominent Texas country artists who are from Lubbock and Tech people and who have found their momentum playing at places like this. What does it mean to you, or I guess what's significant to you about, you know, your name being connected to people like that and to artists like that and to songwriters like that? And I mean, there's a reason that we picked this place to do the interview with you. Yeah,
100%. I mean, I can only hope that my name will be in that conversation with those legends. I mean, I'm nowhere near worthy to be in the same sentence as Will Green and Flatland Calvary and Josh Abbott and Wade Bowen. I mean, they're legends. I'm a long way from being in that breath, but I mean, I think it is an honor to, you know, be able to play the Blue Light where they all played. You know, this place gave me my first chance. Keeps giving me chances. The Blue Light crowd is very loyal. They're going to pack it out every time a Lubbock boy comes and plays. It's pretty cool.
That is so cool. And, you know, we've talked a little bit about Cotton Fest too, just kind of off camera, but, you know, you'll be playing there late June. And you'll be sharing the same stage with some of those guys that we've been talking about. I think that's really cool too, because William Clark Green puts that on, right? And so he picked you. I think that's cool.
I'm very blessed. It kind of blows my mind a little bit. You know, I think a lot of it, and I don't know, he might tell you different. There's no telling, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's such a huge Red Raider, and he just wants to give those young guys a chance.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with how good I am, because if it was based on that, there's a whole lot of people that should be in that spot. So
I think that it's fair to say that both of those things are true.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you.
I mean, we had him on the podcast last year, and he talked at length about that, just the value of being able to be part of that community of people. And he specifically talked about that because Hudson Westbrook was going to be on the stage, and he had said, like, you know, my goal is that Hudson's not somebody that returns to the stages. Like, we create space for the next guy to be able to have this be somewhere that they live and that they can come and, you know, kind of be part of the Lubbock music scene that has been valuable to him. So I think that's really cool. Yeah.
It is very cool.
They say, I'm not a songwriter, obviously, but they say that the key to writing great music is to write what you know. What are there certain things that you find yourself writing over and over again, or do you feel like it sort of is free flowing and it kind of changes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely kind of one of those guys that I'm only able to write what I know. You know, being a tech student, you know what goes on at Texas Tech. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Me and my friends, we weren't all that much different from the regular students, you know, even though we were student athletes, and you know, we only had one night a week where we could really do anything.
Yeah.
But we made it count for a couple years for sure. And, you know, those times kind of, you know, just like Will, you know, writing Ringling Road about a big old fat party, you know, I try not to write about that stuff just because I do want to make it.
It's not your brand.
It's not my brand.
Yeah.
But I find myself writing a lot about that, write a lot about, you know, heartbreak and relationships. It's kind of my wheelhouse right now. I'm trying to expand it a little bit, writing with people down in Austin or Nashville, just trying to get other minds in the room. That way I'm not just writing a bunch of sad, depressing songs, because That's not what people want to hear.
Well, I think there's space for it,
There is.
but I do think that keeping your mind open as your sort of life season changes has value too. Can we talk a little bit more about your Texas Tech experience? So you got your undergrad
Yes,
in
ma'am.
what, sports management?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so undergrad and master's in sports management. And being able to be part of the football team allowed you eligibility to continue your master's. Was that just sort of fortuitous, or did you ever think that you would want to pursue your master's, or did you just sort of find yourself in a position where it made sense?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of both. Before I knew that I wanted to do music, I knew it was probably going to be something that I should do. But I mean, depending on what level of coaching I was going to get into, if I was going to coach high school, probably wasn't going to get it. But if I was going to be an AD in high school one day, you have to have it.
Right.
But I really wasn't thinking about that. It was kind of lucky. I reworked my degree plan when I released my first EP to where I could graduate early. If for some reason the music gods touched me and like, hey, now all of a sudden you're going to sell out arenas and you have to get out of college. I was like, okay, I got to get my degree just in case. Didn't happen, thankfully, but because I was able to play football. But so I graduated early, and then I just kind of had that extra space to get my master's.
Yeah. And how, luck is not the right word. How fortunate do you feel that the stars sort of aligned to allow you to still be part of the team in the fall when, Texas Tech wins the Big 12 championship? You sort of described that as being one of the best moments of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would not have been a good feeling to sit on your couch and watch your teammates do that.
That would have been terrible. And, I almost didn't really have a choice. They cut the roster down because of revenue sharing in April of last year. So it went from, I think we had like 130 on the team. And then they're bringing in all these transfers. So the deal was they were going to get rid of walk-ons, NCAA, which they did. It ruined college football. It won't ever be the same. But so they were cutting the roster down to 105 dudes. So that means that they're bringing in 40 guys and then cutting 20. So really cutting 60 guys. And, I thought for sure my football career was done. I went through a whole spring grinding, trying to earn a spot on that team. Me and all my walk-on buddies that we've done everything together. And then thankfully most of us did make it. That was a huge blessing, and I think a lot of that is on Coach McGuire and Coach Perry. I find it hard to imagine that places like Ohio State kept their walk-ons just because they're more about the business side of it.
It's different.
But culture at Tech's different, and we were very blessed to be able to be on the team this year.
Yeah. I think about, you kind of bring up something that's interesting to me, and I'm just curious about your sort of personal perspective. A lot of people out there will feel like NIL, revenue sharing, and stuff like that, transfer portal, have changed college athletics in a way that it will never be the same, that it's irrevocable.
Yeah.
And I think, from your perspective, you've already shared so much about the way that it has positively impacted you. But, what would you say to people who have very strong opinions negatively about those things and what they have done to the landscape of college athletics?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're completely valid takes. I do think it opened a can of worms that'll never be closed. I think conferences are ruined. I think, the landscape of college football is cooked. I mean, I don't think there's any going back to the glory days unless they put some regulations on it. And thankfully, Cody Campbell's fighting nationally to try to get everything settled in. But me and all the walk-ons at Tech were very, very, very blessed with NIL because it paid for a scholarship. That we didn't go into college thinking we were going to get our school paid for. And then we did. And now that speaks a lot on Cody and Coach McGuire. But I think then now all of a sudden you're paying guys millions and millions of dollars. And then, not saying it's wrong to do that because that's what's allowed. And let's go play the game. Let's go get the best players. But, I sit and wonder, what that does to an 18-year-old kid. And, then all of a sudden now you're getting guys that aren't very loyal to the university. You know, you got guys, you know, if Alabama comes in and offers a third string from Texas Tech, say, hey man, you're getting paid $25,000 at Tech. We'll pay you $400 to come be a 2 at our school. And he's like, all right, I'll be there.
Yeah. So
it's
wild.
sad,
It really is. It's like it wild, I think, is just the best way that I could kind of describe that. How do you feel like Coach McGuire and his staff have been able to sort of navigate that though, and still create an atmosphere and a culture that feels pure and true to what the heart is of playing college football in a place, in a landscape, in an atmosphere where it has been made virtually impossible to be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all on the culture. Coach Blanchard's the genius behind the revenue sharing and, you know, getting guys paid and getting the right guys in the building. And then once those guys are in the building, then Coach McGuire and Coach Lance, the strength coach, they kind of build the culture, and then that's when the players fall in love with it, and you know, they're not going to leave Lubbock once they get in the process.
Yeah. Do you feel like part of you kind of fell in love with Lubbock as much as you did with Tech too? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that for someone who had never even been here before, and it wasn't the university and it wasn't the city that was enticing to you, you know, when you made that choice as a young person to make this your home. You came because of a person, and you got so much more as a result of that. Tell me about what Lubbock and what Tech mean to you. Oh,
everything. People out here, they're different. They're just so kind. There's a different kind of kindness out here than there is everywhere else in the world. You know, Stillwater, Oklahoma is great, but it doesn't have the people that Lubbock does. And I mean, it just really is different. There's a reason there's all these songs about West Texas and Lubbock, you know. Whole lot of Lubbock by Will, and Lubbock by Flatland Cavalry, and West Texas in My Eye by the Panhandlers, and you know, all these songs about Lubbock. There's a reason that they fell in love with this place, and you know, I caught that same bug. I do have to move out, unfortunately. I actually am this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for making time for us.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it. But yeah, it's going to be really hard to leave, and I'm going to be back quite a bit. But it is hard to tour out of here for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, I want to know what's next for you.
Yeah. I'm looking at places to go in kind of the New Braunfels area. I'm going to head home for about a month, and I'm going to shop for houses and stuff down there. But I think that's more of a centralized place to be able to tour out of. You know, there's major highways, there's an airport. You don't have to fly from Lubbock to Dallas, then Dallas to wherever. It's just easier to get places, and that's where all the kind of the writers are in Texas. And I think where I'm at right now, I need to be writing every day.
Yeah.
To try to really perfect the craft. So that's the game plan as of now.
This 100%. Is fun.
I know. I love it.
Thank you for doing this. And
it's my pleasure.
I appreciate you sort of being vulnerable and letting me ask you all the personal questions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hit me with them. I'm good.
Yeah. So you will be performing, like we mentioned, at Cotton Fest later in June. Good luck to you. I hope to see you there. If you want some more information, look at the description. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.